My brothers texted, "We voted you out of the family business at your desk." I replied, "Okay." When they tried to log into the company servers the next day, they realized the family business was built entirely on the code I had just revoked. I, 28 male, just got the most hilarious text from my brothers. After 5 years of building what they called the family business, they've decided to vote me out. My brothers, Garrett, 35, and Toby, 32, started a logistics consulting firm in 2019. What they actually had was a fancy name, business cards, and exactly 0 clients. 6 months in, they came crawling to me. Fresh out of college with a computer science degree, they needed someone to handle the website. What they actually needed was someone to build an entire automated system from scratch: client portal, inventory tracking, route optimization, payment processing, the works. Took me 8 months of nights and weekends. They paid me in pizza and promises. Here's the thing, I never transferred ownership of the code. It's all licensed through my personal LLC. They signed without reading because we're family. Fast forward 5 years, we're pulling in $2.8 million annually. My systems handle everything. They just schmooze clients and collect checks. Last week, things got interesting. Garrett's wife, Mallory, suddenly became operations director, a made-up position where she reorganizes filing cabinets and changes email fonts. Toby's girlfriend, Kelsey, became social media manager for our B2B company that doesn't even need Instagram. Both making $185K annually, by the way. Meanwhile, I'm still maintaining every line of code, updating systems, handling server crashes at 2 a.m., and taking my measly 20% cut as the tech guy. Yesterday at 4 p.m. Hey, we held a partners meeting and voted. You're out. The business needs to evolve beyond just tech stuff. Pack your desk by Friday. We'll mail your last check. Hey, thanks for everything. I replied, okay. Then I did what any reasonable person would do. I logged into AWS and revoked every single license key for their software. All of it. The client portal, routing system, inventory management, payment processing, everything. Now it all shows one simple message. License expired. Please contact your software administrator. Garrett called me at 4:17 p.m., then 4:19, then 4:21. 12 missed calls by 4:30. I didn't answer any of them. The chaos that followed was honestly better than Netflix. Their biggest client had a $400,000 shipment scheduled for the next morning. Without the routing system, they had no idea which drivers were supposed to go where. The inventory system was down, so they couldn't figure out what was supposed to be shipped. Garrett showed up at my apartment at 6 a.m., pounding on the door like police. I recorded it through my Ring doorbell, but didn't answer. He screamed for 20 minutes about how I'm being petty and destroying the family business. My neighbor eventually threatened to call the cops, so he left. Then came the lawyer threats. Toby sent me this gem. Our attorney says what you did is illegal sabotage and corporate theft. You have 24 hours to restore access, or we're suing for damages and pressing criminal charges. This is your only warning. I forwarded it to my lawyer friend, who literally laughed out loud. I have a signed licensing agreement. They terminated my position in the company. The license was contingent on my involvement. It's all in writing, but here's where it gets really good. Mallory tried being sneaky. She reached out to my ex-girlfriend on Facebook, trying to dig up dirt on me. Told my ex that I was having a mental breakdown and had stolen company property, asking if she'd noticed any unstable behavior when we dated. My ex screenshot everything and sent it to me with, "Lol, your family is insane. Glad you're finally standing up to them." They also tried hiring an emergency IT company to rebuild the entire system. The IT company looked at their systems and found something I hadn't noticed. Garrett had been skimming invoice amounts, small percentages. But over 5 years, it added up to $340,000 in client overcharges. The IT firm's compliance officer was legally required to report it. 3 days later, 2 FBI agents showed up at the office for financial fraud investigation. Clients started auditing their records. Class action lawsuit got filed within a week. But then Garrett did something so desperate that made me realize how far he'd actually go to save himself. He showed up at my parents' house at 10 p.m. on a Tuesday. Mom called me crying, saying Garrett was there with documents claiming I'd embezzled money from the business. He'd forged bank statements showing transfers from the company account to my personal LLC. Completely fake, but convincing enough to fool my 8-year-old mother who still writes checks by hand. Dad got on the phone next. His voice was cold in a way I'd never heard before. "Your brother says you've been stealing from the family for years. He's got proof. Bank records. You need to explain yourself right now." I drove over immediately. The 20-minute drive felt like hours. When I walked in, Garrett was sitting at the kitchen table with this smug expression, papers spread out like he was presenting evidence at trial. Mom looked devastated. Dad's jaw was clenched so tight I could see the muscle twitching. The documents were good. I'll give him that. He'd photoshopped bank statements showing monthly transfers of $15,000 from the business account to my LLC. Dates going back 3 years. Problem was, I could prove every single transfer was legitimate licensing fees outlined in our contract. I pulled up the actual contract on my phone, the one they'd signed without reading, showed them the licensing fee structure. Then I logged into the real bank accounts, not the fake screenshots Garrett brought, and showed them the actual transaction history. Every payment matched the contract exactly. Mom's face went from hurt to confused to angry in about 30 seconds. "Garrett, what is this? Why would you make up documents?" Garrett's smugness evaporated. He started stammering about how the IT company must have given him wrong information, how he was just trying to figure out where the money went, how he was stressed because clients were threatening to leave. Dad stood up. His chair scraped against the floor with this awful sound. "Get out of my house." Garrett tried to argue, but Dad pointed at the door. I said, "Get out. You brought forged documents into my home to frame your own brother. Get out." Watching Garrett leave with his tail between his legs should have felt satisfying. Instead, I just felt tired. Mom hugged me and apologized about 6 times. Dad shook my hand and said he was proud of me for standing up for myself, which somehow made me want to cry. The next morning, I got an email from their lawyer. Actual lawyer this time, not Toby's empty threats. They were offering $850,000 to license my software permanently and keep the business running. In exchange, I'd sign an NDA and agree not to pursue any claims against them. I forwarded it to my own lawyer, Benson, who I'd retained after the license revocation. He called me within an hour. They're desperate. The FBI investigation has them cornered and they need the software back to have any chance of keeping clients. We can get more. How much more? Benson paused. If we play this right, everything. Turns out the FBI investigation was moving faster than anyone expected. The compliance officer from the IT firm had provided detailed documentation of the invoice discrepancies. The clients who'd been overcharged were cooperating fully because they wanted their money back. Garrett's skimming operation was about to become a federal case. But here's what I hadn't known. Toby had been keeping his own records. Text messages between him and Garrett discussing the overcharges. Emails about hiding the extra money in offshore accounts. He'd been documenting everything, probably planning to throw Garrett under the bus if things went sideways. And things had definitely gone sideways. 3 days after the failed document stunt at my parents' house, Toby showed up at my apartment. No pounding on the door this time. Just a quiet knock at 7 p.m. I checked the Ring camera. He looked terrible. Unshaved, wrinkled shirt, bags under his eyes like he hadn't slept in a week. I opened the door but didn't invite him in. "I need to talk to you. Please." "So talk." He glanced down the hallway like he expected someone to jump out. "Can I come in? I have information you need to hear." Against my better judgment, I let him in. He sat on my couch and put his head in his hands for a solid minute before speaking. "Garrett's planning to pin everything on you. He's telling the FBI that you built back doors into the system to skim money without anyone knowing. He's got a whole story about how you were resentful about your profit share and decided to steal from clients to make up the difference." I felt my chest tighten. That's insane. The IT firm already found his skimming operation. Toby looked up. "He's saying you must have set that up to frame him. That you knew the business was falling apart and created a trail pointing to him so you could take over." This was worse than I thought. Garrett wasn't just desperate. He was strategic. If he could convince investigators that I'd built the whole system with the intention to commit fraud, the licensing agreement wouldn't protect me. I'd be looking at serious federal charges. "Why are you telling me this?" Toby pulled out his phone. "Because I'm done protecting him. I have every text message where he planned the overcharges, every email about the offshore accounts, voice recordings of him bragging about it, everything. He scrolled through his phone, showing me evidence. Months of communications, Garrett discussing which clients to target, how to adjust invoices without triggering audits, where to hide the money. It was damning. I want immunity, and I want out. I'll give the FBI everything, but I need you to talk to your lawyer about a deal. I stared at my brother, the same guy who'd sent me threatening texts 3 days ago, who'd stood by while Garrett tried to frame me to our parents, who'd helped vote me out of the company I built. Why now? Why not just go to the FBI yourself? Because Garrett knows about Kelsey. He knows things that could destroy my relationship, personal things. He's threatening to expose everything if I don't back his story. So, you're choosing your girlfriend over your brother. Toby's face hardened. You're choosing yourself over family. I chose myself after you chose to kick me out. After 5 years of building everything while you collected checks. Don't come at me with family loyalty now. We sat in silence. The refrigerator hummed. A car alarm went off outside. Finally, Toby spoke again. Garrett's been stealing from the beginning. Not just the client overcharges. He's been taking money from the actual business account. Operations costs that don't exist. Equipment purchases that never happened. The $340,000 the IT firm found? That's nothing. The real number is over $900,000. The room felt smaller suddenly. Over 5 years, my brother had stolen nearly $1 million from a business I'd built. Money that should have been split between the 3 of us. Money that could have been reinvested in better systems, better salaries, actual growth. I need to think about this. Leave me your evidence and get out. Toby transferred everything to a secure folder and shared the access with me. Then he left without another word. I spent the next 4 hours reviewing documents. He wasn't lying. The evidence was overwhelming. Garrett had been running a sophisticated embezzlement operation since month 3 of the business. I called Benson at midnight. He answered on the first ring, which told me he'd been expecting my call. My brother just gave me enough evidence to bury my other brother. What do I do with it? Benson was quiet for a moment. Is it legitimate evidence? Completely. Then we give it to the FBI in exchange for a formal statement clearing you of any involvement. We make sure they understand you were a victim of this fraud too. And then we negotiate the licensing deal while they're scrambling. The next morning, Benson arranged a meeting with the FBI agents handling the case. We met at their field office downtown. The building had that government smell, industrial cleaner and old coffee. Agent Ramos and Agent Chen sat across from us in a windowless conference room. I handed over Toby's evidence. Watched their expressions change as they reviewed the files. Agent Ramos actually whistled at one particularly damning email chain where Garrett discussed buying a boat with skimmed funds. Your brother kept excellent records. Agent Chen closed her laptop. This changes the scope of our investigation significantly. We'll need a full statement from you about your role in the company. I spent 3 hours walking them through everything. How I built the systems, the licensing agreement, my 20% share despite doing 80% of the actual work. They took notes, asked clarifying questions, and by the end I could tell they understood I'd been taken advantage of just like the clients. We'll need to examine your personal finances to verify you didn't benefit from the fraud. Standard procedure. I gave them access to everything. My LLC accounts, personal checking, savings, investment accounts. I had nothing to hide. The only money I'd received was legitimate licensing fees and my pathetic profit share. Agent Ramos leaned back in his chair. Off the record, your brothers are idiots. They had a golden goose and decided to rob it at gunpoint. That's one way to put it. We'll be in touch. Don't discuss this investigation with anyone except your lawyer. The meeting ended and Benson walked me to my car. That went well. They know you're clean. Now we wait for your brothers to panic. We didn't have to wait long. That afternoon, Garrett's lawyer sent an updated offer. $1.2 million for the software license, immediate payment, plus a written apology and agreement that I could use the situation as a reference case for future business. Benson laughed when he read it. They're terrified. The FBI must have contacted them about the new evidence. Counter with $2.5 million and 40% ownership of the company. That's insane. They'll never agree. They will if they want to stay out of prison. The software is their only leverage with clients. Without it, the company folds, and their legal defense becomes much harder to fund. He was right. 2 hours later, Garrett's lawyer called. They'd agree to $2 million and 30% ownership, but that was their final offer. Take it or the deal was off the table. Benson muted the call. What do you want to do? I thought about it. The money would set me up for years. The ownership stake would give me control over business decisions. But more than that, it would mean watching Garrett and Toby squirm under my thumb for the foreseeable future. Tell them I want $2.2 million, 35% ownership, and both of them have to personally sign an acknowledgement that the business exists solely because of my systems. I want it in writing that without me, there is no company. Benson unmuted. My client has a counteroffer. The lawyer sputtered but eventually agreed. Documents would be drawn up within 48 hours. Payment would be processed immediately upon signing. I'd have operational control over all technical aspects of the business with no interference from Garrett or Toby. That night, I slept better than I had in weeks. But when I woke up the next morning, I had 47 missed calls from my mom. Something was very wrong. Mom was crying so hard I could barely understand her. Your father's in the hospital. He had a heart attack last night. Garrett told him about the FBI investigation and the money, and he just collapsed. The drive to the hospital was a blur. I kept thinking about Dad pointing at the door, telling Garrett to leave. The stress I'd seen on his face. The way his jaw clenched. I should have known this was too much for him. Mom was in the waiting room with my Aunt Patricia. Her eyes were red and swollen. They've got him stable, but he's in intensive care. The doctor said the stress triggered it. Too much emotional strain. Where's Garrett? He left after the ambulance came. Said he had to deal with business issues. Of course he did. Even with Dad in the hospital, Garrett was thinking about himself. I sat with Mom for 6 hours while doctors ran tests and monitored Dad's heart. Toby showed up around 3 p.m. Looking guilty as hell. Is he okay? Stable. No thanks to you two. Toby sat down but didn't respond. We waited in silence until a doctor finally came out. Dr. Morrison, according to her badge. She looked tired. Your father had a significant cardiac event. We've stabilized him, but he'll need to stay here for at least a week, maybe longer. The stress on his system was severe. He needs complete rest and zero agitation. Can we see him? Immediate family only, 2 at a time, and keep it brief. He needs to remain calm. Mom went in first with Aunt Patricia. When they came out 20 minutes later, Mom was crying again. He looked so fragile. He kept asking about the business and the FBI, and I didn't know what to tell him. Don't tell him anything. Let him rest. I went in next with Toby. Dad was hooked up to monitors, IV drip in his arm, oxygen tube in his nose. He looked old in a way I'd never seen before. Gray skin, sunken eyes. When he saw us, he tried to smile, but it came out as more of a grimace. Hey, Dad, don't try to talk. Just rest. He shook his head slightly. Need to know. What's happening? Everything's handled. The FBI investigation is sorting itself out. The business is going to be fine. You just need to focus on getting better, Garrett said. Whatever Garrett said was probably a lie. Don't worry about him. Don't worry about any of it. Toby stepped forward. Dad, I'm sorry. About all of this. I should have stopped it before it got this far. Dad's eyes moved to Toby. His expression was hard to read. Disappointment, maybe. Or just exhaustion. He closed his eyes and within seconds was asleep. The monitor showed his heart rate. Steady, but weak. We left the room and found Garrett in the hallway talking on his phone. When he saw us, he quickly ended the call. How is he? Like you care. Garrett's face reddened. That's not fair. I care about Dad. You told him about the FBI investigation while he was already stressed. You basically handed him a heart attack. I had to tell him the truth. He deserved to know what was happening. Toby stepped between us. Both of you, stop. Dad doesn't need this right now. Garrett pointed at me. This is all happening because he decided to be petty and shut down the systems. If he'd just accepted the vote and moved on, none of this would have blown up. I accepted the vote. I said okay and left. You're the one who committed fraud. You're the one who's been stealing for 5 years. This isn't on me. A nurse walked by and gave us a look. We were getting too loud for a hospital ICU wing. Garrett lowered his voice, but the anger was still there. The deal we offered is generous. Take it and walk away. Let us handle the business and the FBI and everything else. You've done enough damage. I stepped closer to him, close enough to smell his expensive cologne that he probably bought with stolen money. The deal I countered is the one you're going to accept, because if you don't, I'm pulling the license entirely and letting the whole company burn. You'll have nothing to negotiate with. No clients, no revenue, no legal defense fund. Just fraud charges and prison time. Garrett stared at me. For a moment, I thought he might actually throw a punch. His fist clenched and unclenched. But then he looked at Toby, who was watching with this neutral expression, and something in Garrett's face changed. He realized Toby wasn't backing him up. Fine, we'll sign your deal. But this doesn't make us family anymore. You understand that? We stopped being family when you voted me out. I left the hospital and went home. The apartment felt empty. I ordered Chinese food and sat on the couch eating lo mein straight from the container while scrolling through my phone. The documents for the deal arrived in my email at 9 p.m. Benson had reviewed everything and confirmed it was legitimate. All I had to do was sign. But something stopped me. I kept thinking about Dad in that hospital bed, Mom crying in the waiting room, the way Garrett looked at me like I was the enemy. 5 years of building something together, or what I thought was together, and it had all fallen apart in less than a week. My phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Is this the software developer for the logistics company? The voice was professional, male, unfamiliar. Yeah, who's this? My name is Vernon Hughes. I'm the CEO of Western Transport Solutions. We're one of your biggest clients. Or we were, until the systems went down. I sat up straighter. Mr. Hughes, I apologize for the disruption. There were some internal business issues that affected the licensing. I know about the internal issues. The FBI contacted us about the fraud investigation. We're cooperating fully, but I'm not calling about that. I'm calling because I want to hire you. Hire me? Your system is the best logistics management software I've ever used. Been in this industry for 30 years and nothing else comes close. When I found out you built it, I looked into your background. You're talented and clearly undervalued. I want to offer you a position as our Chief Technology Officer. $350,000, salary plus benefits and equity. You'd build our entire tech infrastructure from scratch. I couldn't speak for a second. Mr. Hughes, I appreciate the offer, but I'm in the middle of negotiations with my brothers about the current business. I know, and between you and me, that business is going to collapse. The fraud investigation will scare off most clients even if you restore the systems. Bad publicity, legal liability, trust issues. You're better off starting fresh somewhere stable. Can I think about it? Take your time, but not too much time. I'm talking to other candidates, and I'd prefer to hire you. Email me when you decide. He hung up and I sat there holding my phone. A way out, a clean break. Good money and a fresh start with no complicated family drama. It was tempting, really tempting, but there was something satisfying about the idea of owning 35% of the company and watching Garrett have to answer to me. Some petty part of me wanted that revenge, wanted to see him squirm every time he needed my approval for a technical decision. I called Benson. If I take the deal with my brothers, what kind of control do I actually have? With 35% and operational control over tech? Significant. You'd have veto power over any major business decisions. They couldn't make changes to systems or processes without your approval. Essentially, you'd be a co-owner with teeth. And if the company collapses because of the investigation, you'd still own 35% of whatever assets remain. Plus, you'd have the $2.2 million up front. Worst case scenario, you take the money and walk away from a dead business. I thought about it while Benson waited on the line. What would you do? Honestly? I'd take the money, sign the deal, and then immediately start looking for exit opportunities. Let them run the business into the ground if they want. You'll have enough ownership to claim a piece of anything valuable that remains, but you won't be tied down by their incompetence. It made sense. Take the money, maintain leverage, but keep options open. I asked Benson to finalize the paperwork. 2 days later, I met Garrett and Toby at their lawyer's office to sign everything. The meeting was tense and silent. We sat across from each other at a conference table while lawyers shuffled papers. Garrett signed first, his signature angry and hard. Toby signed next, barely looking at the documents. Then it was my turn. I picked up the pen and paused. Just so we're clear, this means I have operational control over all technical aspects. Any changes to systems, any new software, any infrastructure decisions, they go through me. You two run the business side, I run the tech side. We stay out of each other's way. Garrett's jaw clenched. That's what the contract says. I signed. The wire transfer for $2.2 million hit my account within an hour. I watched the numbers appear on my phone screen and felt absolutely nothing. No satisfaction, no relief. Just empty. Dad was released from the hospital 3 days later. Mom called to let me know. He's home and resting. Doctor says he needs to avoid stress for at least 6 months. I didn't tell him about the deal you signed with your brothers. Thought it would be too much. That's probably smart. Are you coming by to see him? I'll come by this weekend. When Saturday arrived, I drove to my parents' house with a plant I'd bought from the grocery store. Something green and alive that seemed appropriate for a recovery gift. Mom answered the door and hugged me tight. He's in the den. Go easy on him. He's still tired. Dad was sitting in his recliner watching a golf tournament on mute. When he saw me, he used the remote to turn off the TV entirely. I handed him the plant and he actually smiled. Thanks. Your mother will kill it within a week, but I appreciate the thought. How are you feeling? Tired. Old. Stupid for letting your brother's drama affect me this much. I sat on the couch across from him. You're not stupid. You're a dad who wanted to believe his kids could work together. Did you sign the deal? Yeah. Got paid, got ownership, got control over the tech. They run the business. I run the systems. Everyone stays in their lane. Good. That's good. He paused, looking at the dark TV screen. I'm proud of you for standing up for yourself. I should have seen what Garrett was doing. Should have asked more questions about how the money was flowing. I failed you. Dad, you didn't fail anyone. Garrett made his choices. Still, I'm your father. I should have protected you from your own brother. We sat there for a while without talking. Mom brought us coffee and cookies that were definitely store-bought despite her claims of baking them fresh. The afternoon stretched on, comfortable and quiet. When I left a few hours later, Dad walked me to the door. You're doing the right thing, taking your share and keeping your distance. Don't let them drag you back into their mess. I won't. But as I drove home, I wondered if that was actually true. Because 3 days later, everything exploded again, in a way I never saw coming. Vernon Hughes called me back. I need to accelerate our timeline. Can you start in 2 weeks? I haven't officially accepted the offer yet. I'm aware. But I need an answer by tomorrow. We just found out that your former company is about to lose their 3 biggest clients. The fraud investigation is public now and companies are running for the exits. If you're planning to jump ship, now is the time. Let me call you back. I hung up and immediately called Toby. He answered on the first ring. We're losing Western Transport, Elevation Logistics, and Summit Freight, all in the same day. They're terminating contracts effective immediately. We're done. His voice was flat. No emotion, just facts. What about the other clients? Half are waiting to see what happens with the investigation. The other half are already shopping for new providers. Garrett's trying to do damage control, but it's not working. Nobody trusts us anymore. How bad is the financial situation? Without those 3 contracts, we'll be operating at a loss within a month. We can't make payroll for the staff. Can't cover the office lease. The company is basically dead. I felt something twist in my stomach. Not quite guilt, but close. This is what you wanted, right? You voted me out, you committed fraud, you brought this on yourselves. Toby was quiet for a long moment. Yeah, we did. I'm not asking for your help. I'm just letting you know it's over. What are you going to do? Find a new job, I guess? Kelsey's already looking at positions in other cities. I'll probably have to move, start over somewhere else. And Garrett? Garrett's talking to bankruptcy lawyers, trying to figure out how to protect his personal assets when the business folds. Mallory is furious. She's threatening to leave him if they lose their house. The house they bought with stolen money? Toby actually laughed. Yeah, that house. Ironic, right? We hung up, and I sat in my car in the grocery store parking lot, engine off, watching people push carts full of food they'd take home to their normal lives. I had a choice to make. Take the CTO position with Western Transport and walk away clean, or try to salvage the company I'd built, working alongside brothers who'd betrayed me. The smart choice was obvious. The emotionally complicated choice was equally obvious. I called Vernon Hughes back. I need 1 more week to sort out some obligations. Can you give me that? What kind of obligations? Personal ones. Family business that needs to be resolved. Vernon sighed. 1 week. But that's it. I need you committed after that. I agreed and hung up. Then I did something that surprised even me. I called Garrett. He didn't answer. I called again. Still nothing. On the 3rd call, he picked up. What do you want? To talk about saving the company. There's nothing to save. You won. Congratulations. Don't be dramatic. I have an idea, but I need you to shut up and listen. I outlined my plan over the next 10 minutes. We'd rebrand entirely. New company name, new business structure, complete separation from the fraud investigation. I'd bring Western Transport back on as an anchor client by offering them a significant discount and guaranteed service improvements. We'd use my connections in the tech industry to find other clients who needed logistics software. But here was the catch. Garrett and Toby would step down from leadership roles. They'd remain as minority shareholders, but I'd be CEO and have full control over operations. Mallory and Kelsey would be let go immediately. The company would be lean, efficient, and built on legitimate business practices. Why would you do this? Because Dad had a heart attack over this mess and I don't want him watching his sons destroy everything he taught us to build. Because Toby might actually learn from this if given a chance. And because I spent 5 years creating something that actually works, and I'm not ready to let it die because you two are criminals. Garrett was silent. I could hear him breathing on the other end of the line. I'd have to convince Toby. And Mallory is going to lose her mind. Mallory isn't part of this anymore. That's non-negotiable. She goes, Kelsey goes, and both of you step back. Those are my terms. What do we get out of this? You avoid bankruptcy. You keep small ownership stakes that might actually be worth something eventually. And you don't have to explain to Dad why his sons completely destroyed a family business. Another long silence. Then, I'll talk to Toby. You have 24 hours. The next day, Toby called me. Garrett told me about your offer. I'm in. Whatever you need me to do, I'll do it. You'd work under my direction? Follow my decisions even if you disagree? Yes, I mean it. I'm done pretending I know how to run a business. You built this thing. You should be the one leading it. And Kelsey already broke up with me. She said she didn't sign up for a failed entrepreneur with FBI problems. So that's handled. I'm sorry. Don't be. You were right about everything. We got greedy and stupid and now we're paying for it. I just want a chance to fix some of the damage. We scheduled a meeting for the following morning at a coffee shop downtown. Neutral territory. When I arrived, both of my brothers were already there, looking like they hadn't slept. Garrett had dark circles under his eyes. Toby's hands shook slightly as he stirred his coffee. I laid out the full plan. Rebrand as Velocity Systems. File all new incorporation papers. Transfer the software licensing to the new entity. Reach out to former clients with a formal apology and explanation that the previous ownership had been removed. Offer incentives for companies willing to give us a second chance. Garrett interrupted. The FBI investigation is still ongoing. How do we handle that? We cooperate fully. You two provide whatever information they need. Accept whatever consequences come from your actions. The new company will be completely separate from any legal issues with the old one. That could mean prison time. Garrett's voice cracked slightly on the last word. Maybe. That's the price of committing fraud. But if you cooperate, your lawyer can probably negotiate reduced charges, maybe probation instead of jail time. I can't promise anything, but taking responsibility is your only play here. Toby nodded slowly. I'll do it. Whatever happens, I'll deal with it. Garrett took longer to decide. He stared into his coffee cup like it held answers. Finally, he looked up. If I agree to this, I want something in writing. A contract that says, if the new company becomes profitable, Toby and I get fair compensation for our original investment in the business. You didn't invest anything. I built everything. We brought in the clients. We created the relationships. That has value. I considered it. Fine. If the new company becomes profitable within 3 years, you'll each receive a one-time bonus of $50,000. That's it. After that, you're just minority shareholders with no additional compensation unless I decide otherwise. Garrett extended his hand across the table. Deal. We shook on it. Toby shook my hand next. His grip was firmer than I expected. Over the next 2 weeks, I worked 18-hour days rebuilding everything, filed new incorporation paperwork, designed a new logo and website, reached out to Vernon Hughes and convinced him to give Velocity Systems a shot with a reduced rate for the first 6 months. He agreed, partly because he felt bad about poaching me, and partly because he genuinely believed in the software. Other clients were harder to convince. Most wanted nothing to do with anything connected to the fraud case, but a few smaller companies agreed to trial runs, enough to generate some cash flow and prove the concept could work. Mallory showed up at my apartment one night at 11 p.m., pounding on the door like Garrett had weeks earlier. I checked the Ring camera and saw her standing there in yoga pants and an oversized sweatshirt, mascara running down her face. I opened the door but kept the chain lock on. "What do you want, Mallory? You destroyed my marriage. Garrett's a mess. We're losing everything because you decided to be vindictive. Garrett destroyed his own marriage by committing fraud and getting caught. I didn't make him steal from clients. He wouldn't have had to steal if you'd given him proper respect and a fair share of the profits. You built a system and acted like you were the only one who mattered. I built the entire company. The system, the infrastructure, the client portal, everything. Your husband brought in some sales and then decided to rob everyone blind. Don't try to rewrite history." She started crying harder. "We have kids. Did you think about that? What happens to Garrett's children when their father goes to prison? I thought about my own childhood, about Dad teaching us to be honest, work hard, take responsibility. About Mom always saying family comes first, but integrity comes before everything, about the values we were supposed to share. Garrett should have thought about his kids before he committed crimes. I'm not responsible for his choices. You're family. You're supposed to protect each other. And he was supposed to not vote me out of a company I built, supposed to not steal my inheritance, supposed to not forge documents to frame me. Family goes both ways, Mallory." I closed the door, stood there listening to her cry on the other side for a few minutes before she finally left. Sat on the couch afterward feeling hollowed out. This was the cost of standing up for myself. Broken relationships, family drama, enemies where there used to be brothers. But when I checked my email and saw 3 new client inquiries for Velocity Systems, I felt something shift. This wasn't just about revenge or justice anymore. It was about building something real on my own terms. Something that couldn't be taken away because I'd never given anyone else the power to take it. Dad called me the next morning. "Heard about the new company. Your mom told me you're trying to salvage things." Trying being the key word. "Garrett came by yesterday, told me everything. The stealing, the FBI, the deal you offered him." He was crying, which I haven't seen since he was 8 years old. "How do you feel about it?" "Disappointed in him, proud of you, worried about all of you." He paused. "You're doing the right thing, giving them a chance to make it right. That takes character. Or stupidity. Maybe both." He laughed, which turned into a cough. "But that's what family is sometimes. Stupid loyalty, even when people don't deserve it." The FBI case concluded 3 months later. Garrett pleaded guilty to wire fraud and agreed to repay the $340,000 identified by the IT firm, plus an additional $180,000 they discovered during their investigation. He got 2 years probation, 500 hours of community service, and a permanent record, no prison time, which his lawyer called a miracle. Toby cooperated fully and received immunity in exchange for his testimony and evidence. He'd keep his record clean but had to testify if the case went to trial. It didn't. Garrett's plea deal closed everything. The clients who'd been overcharged received full restitution. Most still refused to work with Velocity Systems. Trust, once broken, doesn't rebuild easily. But enough new clients came in that we started turning a small profit by month 5. I hired a small team, real employees with actual salaries and benefits. No more family members trading job titles for free money. We operated lean and focused entirely on delivering quality service. Word spread slowly in the industry that the new company was legitimate and well run. Vernon Hughes called me 6 months in. "Heard you're making it work. Impressive turnaround. Trying to, anyway. The CTO position is still open if you change your mind. But I respect what you're doing. Building something from the ashes takes guts. Thanks for believing in the software. We couldn't have done this without Western Transport giving us a chance. The software earned the chance. You just had to get out from under the idiots running the show. After we hung up, I walked through the small office space I'd rented. 4 desks, decent computers, a coffee maker that actually worked. Toby sat at one desk handling customer service calls. We'd hired 2 junior developers to help with system maintenance. A part-time accountant came in twice a week to manage the books, someone with no family connections who'd actually catch problems before they became fraud. Toby looked up from his call. That client from Phoenix wants to expand their contract. Should I send them the new pricing tiers? Yeah, and set up a call for Thursday so I can walk through the technical specs with them. Got it. This was the new normal. Simple, professional, functional. No drama, no stolen money, no forged documents, just work. Garrett stopped by the office one afternoon, his first time seeing the place. He stood in the doorway looking uncomfortable in khakis and a polo shirt instead of his usual expensive suits. Place looks good. Thanks. I wanted to see what you'd built. Figured I should probably understand what I'm a minority shareholder in. I gave him a brief tour, showed him the server setup, the upgraded security systems, the client management dashboard I'd redesigned from scratch. He asked decent questions, seemed genuinely interested. When we finished, we stood by the door. I'm sorry for what I did, for dragging you into my mess, for being a greedy idiot who couldn't see what really mattered. It was maybe the first truly honest thing he'd said to me in years. I know. Apology accepted doesn't mean things go back to how they were. I know that too. I just wanted you to hear it anyway. He left and I went back to my desk, opened my laptop and pulled up the financial projections for the next quarter. The numbers looked promising. Not explosive growth, but steady progress. Sustainable business built on actual value instead of fraud and family obligation. My phone buzzed with a text from Mom. Sunday dinner at our place. Both your brothers will be there. Please come. We need to try being a family again. I stared at the text for a long time. Part of me wanted to refuse, keep the distance, maintain the boundaries, protect myself from more disappointment. But Dad's heart attack flashed through my mind. Mom's tears in the hospital waiting room. The way families fracture and sometimes never heal. I typed back, I'll be there. Sunday came and I drove to my parents' house with a bottle of wine and low expectations. When I walked in, Garrett was already in the living room talking to Dad about baseball. Toby was in the kitchen helping Mom with the vegetables, wearing an apron that said, "Kiss the cook," in faded letters. Mom hugged me hard enough to crack ribs. Thank you for coming. This means everything. Dinner was awkward at first. We sat around the table making careful small talk about weather and sports, avoiding anything substantial. But eventually, Dad cleared his throat and looked at each of us. I want to say something and I need you all to listen. What happened with the business was a disaster. Garrett, you made terrible choices that hurt everyone. Toby, you enabled him instead of speaking up. And you, he looked at me, you had every right to walk away and never look back. But you didn't. You gave them a second chance they probably didn't deserve. Dad's voice got rough. I'm proud of how you've handled this, all of you in different ways. Garrett's taking responsibility for his actions. Toby's learning humility. And you're building something good from the wreckage. That's what matters now. Moving forward. Mom reached over and squeezed Dad's hand. We can't change the past, but we're still a family. Damaged, complicated, imperfect, but still a family. The rest of dinner was easier. We told stories about childhood, remembered better times, laughed at old jokes. When I left that night, Garrett walked me to my car. The company's going to make it, isn't it? Looking that way, you should have been in charge from the beginning. I see that now. Probably would have saved everyone a lot of trouble. He smiled slightly. Yeah, probably. I drove home through empty streets, windows down, cool air washing through the car. Thought about everything that had happened. The betrayal, the fighting, the FBI investigation, Dad's heart attack. The slow process of rebuilding trust and business and family relationships. None of it had been easy. Most of it had been painful. But when I pulled into my apartment complex and saw the Velocity Systems sticker on my laptop bag in the passenger seat, I felt something unexpected. Not quite pride, Not quite satisfaction. Something closer to peace. Like I'd finally figured out who I was, separate from my brother's expectations and family obligations. 2 years later, Velocity Systems had 30 employees, 50 clients, and annual revenue of $4.7 million. Garrett and Toby each received their $50,000 bonuses per hour agreement. Garrett used his to pay down debt. Toby invested his in the company, buying additional shares when I offered them. He'd become a solid operations manager, handling logistics coordination and client relations with genuine skill. We had a holiday party at the office. Staff brought their families, kids ran around eating cookies, someone brought a guitar, and we had terrible sing-alongs. Dad and Mom came, Dad moving slower after the heart attack but smiling wide. He shook hands with employees, told embarrassing stories about my childhood, acted like a proud father at his son's business. Garrett showed up late with his kids but without Mallory. They'd separated, probably for the best. He spent most of the party talking to Toby and keeping distance from me. Still uncomfortable, still processing everything. Maybe we'd never fully recover the relationship we'd had. Maybe that was okay. Late in the evening, I stood outside in the parking lot catching my breath from the noise and crowd. Toby came out and leaned against the wall next to me. Hell of a thing you built here. We built. You've put in real work these past 2 years. After I tried to destroy it, he looked at the sky. I think about that a lot. What would have happened if you'd just walked away? Let the whole thing collapse? Sometimes I think that's what I deserved. Maybe. But then I think about Dad's face at dinner that night. How he talked about family. I couldn't let it all fall apart, even if you two had tried your hardest to make it happen. Toby nodded slowly. I'm grateful. For the chance. For trusting me enough to let me be part of this. Don't make me regret it. I won't. That's a promise. We stood there in silence for a while. Music drifted out from the office. Someone was singing an off-key version of a holiday song. It was imperfect and messy and real, just like everything else we'd built from the ruins of betrayal and fraud. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. I opened it expecting spam. It was Mallory. I owe you an apology. What I said that night at your apartment was wrong. You were right about everything, and I was too blind to see it. Garrett's decisions destroyed our family, but you tried to save his. That took strength I don't have. I hope you're doing well. I stared at the message for a long moment. Thought about responding, but couldn't figure out what to say. Some apologies come too late to matter. Some relationships break in ways that never fully heal. Instead, I deleted the message and put my phone away. Toby glanced over. Everything okay? Yeah, just someone from the past trying to rewrite history. He understood. We went back inside together. The party was winding down. Parents collecting tired kids. Employees saying goodbyes. Dad was sitting in my office chair, feet up on the desk, looking content in a way I hadn't seen since before Mom got sick. This is good. What you've done here, it matters. Just business, Dad. No, it's more than that. It's proof that doing things right eventually pays off. That integrity beats shortcuts. I needed to see that after everything that happened. Mom appeared in the doorway. Ready to go, old man? Dad stood up slowly. We're proud of you, all three of you in your own ways, but especially you. They left, and I was alone in the office. Lights still on, mess from the party scattered across desks and tables. I could clean it now or leave it for Monday. Decided on Monday. Grabbed my coat and headed for the door. The street outside was quiet. A few cars passing, streetlights reflecting off wet pavement from earlier rain. I stood there breathing in cold air, looking at the small office building that housed everything I'd built after my brothers tried to take it all away. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Vernon Hughes. Merry Christmas. Been watching your growth. Impressive work. If you ever want to sell, I'd be interested in acquiring Velocity Systems. Think about it. I smiled and put the phone away without responding. Some things weren't for sale at any price. I'd learned that lesson the hard way. Walked to my car, drove home through empty streets, and slept that night better than I had in years.